Okay, so we're almost ready to jump back into our code, but before we do that, I do want to have at least one dummy listing for us to work with in our database. So if we click on Firestore database, and you see this start collection. So if you've never worked with NoSQL databases such as MongoDB or CouchDB, there's some other ones as well. That's what Firestore gives us, is a NoSQL database, and we have something called collections, which are similar to tables in relational databases. So as far as our application goes, we're going to have a listings collection, which will have all the listings data, including the price, the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, the type, whether it's for rent or for sale, and then we're also going to have a users collection. And in addition to our authentication, where we can see our users, we'll have them in the database as well. And one nice thing about NoSQL databases is you get a lot of freedom. With a relational database, you have to go in and you have to create all of your tables with all of your columns and all your fields beforehand, before you start coding. Well, with a NoSQL database, we don't have to do anything. We don't even have to add this dummy listing. We could just start to write our code, and when it comes time to write the code to add a listing, it'll create the collection automatically. And that's what it'll do with the users. However, I do want to manually create the listings collection so that we can add a dummy document. So let's say listings, that's our collection ID. Click next. And it says add first document. So a document is just an item. It's just a record, just like you have in a relational database, except we don't use columns and rows. We have documents. And each document has what's called a document ID. And ultimately, when we add a new listing from our application, it'll generate this ID automatically. However, right now, I'm just going to click Auto ID, and it'll generate it for me. Now, as far as the fields go, I'm going to bring over a JSON file that I actually you guys have in your resources. It's just called listings.json. And I'm not really doing much with this file. We're not going to use it for anything. It's just for reference so that we can add some listings later on. But for now, I'm just going to add this first listing. But let's go over the actual fields that a listing has. So first of all, we have a name, which can be anything. I just gave them random names. The type, which is either going to be rent or sale. Okay, so because we can have either houses or apartments for rent, or we can have them for sale. User ref is going to be an ID of the user, because we need a way to connect a user to a specific listing. So when we write our code, we're going to make it so that when we submit the listing form, the ID of the currently logged in user will get put in this field. Then we have bedrooms, bathrooms, parking, furnished, which are Boolean values, offer. So basically, if offer is true, that means there's a discounted price. So here it's true. You see we have regular price, discounted price. Whoops. Down here we have offer as false, so there's only a regular price. So underneath discounted price, you'll see you have the location. That's just the long form address. Then we have this geolocation object with latitude and longitude. So later on, we're going to use geocoding so that when we fill out the form, we just put the address, but then Google will go ahead and geocode it and give us the latitude and longitude so that we can put it on a map. And then we'll also have image URLs, which will be an array of images, because you can have multiple images per listing, and then just a timestamp. All right, so those are the fields that we're working with. So I'm going to just make this a little smaller, and I'm just going to go ahead and use some of this data. So I'm going to grab the name right here, copy that, and we're going to add a name. Then you can choose the types. You can choose from all these types. This is a string, and we'll put in the name. Let's add another field. So next we have the type. So type is a string, and that's going to be rent. So it can either be rent or sale. Then we have the user ref. All right, so for the user ref, this has to be an ID of a specific user. So I actually want to go into my authentication, but I don't want to cancel out of this. So I'm just going to open up another tab and go to Firebase and go to my console and go to that project. And then let's go to authentication and the user ID. You see, I already created a sample user. So I'm going to just copy that ID, and I'm going to put that in here as the user ref. Next is going to be, what do we have? Bedrooms. bedrooms, that's going to be a string, and let's do that's going to be a number. So we want to change that to number, and let's add bathrooms, that's going to be a number. Whoops, that should be 2. And then we have parking. All right, so parking is going to be a Boolean, and that's going to be true for this particular listing. And then let's do furnished, and that's going to be a Boolean, and that's going to be false. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Offer, so let's do offer. And for this one, we're going to set it to true, so that means we need both a discounted and a regular and discounted. So let's do regular. We'll say regular price, and regular price is going to be a number, and we'll say the regular price is $2,500. And then since there's an offer, we're going to have a discounted price, which is going to be a number, and that's going to be 2,000. And then let's see, we have a location field, so I'm just going to grab this. Let's add that. So location string, let's paste that in. Now for the geolocation, let's say geolocation. From here, we're going to choose map. All right, and then in this map, we'll have a latitude and longitude. So let's say lat, which is going to be a number. And let's see, we're going to grab this value right here. I mean, you can put other values if you want, but this is going to be longitude, which is going to be a number. And we'll grab this. And let's put that in there. Okay, now make sure that you don't click this add field, because that's adding another field to this geolocation. You want to click this one here. And next is going to be, let's see, we have image URLs. So image URLs. And this is actually going to be an array. So let's choose array. And then for the values, it's just going to be a URL to an image, which ultimately we're going to be uploading them. But just for now, I'm going to go to Unsplash. So Unsplash, which is just free stock images, and I'll just search for home. And we'll just grab this one right here. Actually, no, these are the premium ones. We need to go down more. Yeah, I guess well, this is a condo, actually. Let's search for condo. It doesn't matter. I don't know this stuff. I get kind of OCD with this stuff. Let's grab, we'll just use this one. So I'll click on that, and then I'm going to copy the image address. And we'll go ahead and add that as one of our images. Paste that in. We'll add another one. So let's get an interior. So we'll search for, actually, I think there is an interior here. Yeah, we'll just grab we'll just grab this one. So copy image address, close that up. All right, so now this particular listing will have 2 images associated with it. And then I think that's pretty much it. When we need a timestamp, and then the type, I believe there's a timestamp type, so we can select from here. We'll select right now, and then for the time, I don't know, I guess I'll just put in like 11:03:10, I guess. Is that acceptable? Should be. Okay, so I think that's all the fields. I don't think I'm missing anything. So let's go ahead and click Save. And now we have a listing. All right, so at least we have something to work with. If you want to add more manually and you want to copy some of this data, you can do that, but I'm just going to have one. Now, we do want to add a couple indexes, what are called composite indexes. So you can see there's composite and single field. Let me just make that a little bigger. So it says composite indexes support queries that match across multiple fields by indexing combinations of fields in a collection. So the reason we're doing this is there's a couple queries we're going to make where they're not going to work unless we add these indexes. And if we look at the document here, we're going to add an index for the type field, the user ref, and the offer field. All right, so let's do that. Let's say create index, and it's going to be on listings. This is just the collection ID. So for the type field, and then we also want to add timestamp here, and that's going to be descending. So the field of type will be ascending, timestamp descending, and let's say query scope is going to be the collection. So that's the first index. Next one, listings, and we want user ref, ascending, and timestamp is going to be descending, collection, and create index. Okay, and then the last one, listings, offer, and that's going to be timestamp. That's going to be descending, and collection. Okay, so we should be all set. We have some dummy data, we have our indexes created, we have our authenticated set up, our authentication I should say, along with a dummy user. So I think we're good. Now we can go ahead and jump into our application, and we can start to write our code. Right now all we have is this, so let's actually update the title. It's bothering me, that React app. So index HTML, we'll just go ahead and change that. All right. Okay, so in the next video we'll start to write some code.